G'day. Welcome to the story of the Avro Lancaster in 1 to 72nd scale. The story of the Lanc, the men who flew them, and the men and women who built and maintained them during the Second World War is an important part of our history. It's no surprise then that the Lanc has long been a popular subject for model builders. During the war, several companies released wooden model kits, often built for aircraft recognition purposes. After the war, with the growth of plastic modelling, the Lanc appeared in several other scales. In 1958, Airfix released the first plastic kit of the Lancaster in 1 to 72nd scale, and it was the first of 7 eventual 72nd scale Lancs to be tooled between that year and 2013, with 3 still in production today. And so we'll look at all 7 of these models in this series, Avro Lancaster, the 1 to 72nd scale story. In this second episode of the series, we unbox and look at the Revell release of 1963. This would be released under a number of brand names and boxings, with the last one being released in 2001. So let's have a look. So it's quite a sturdy box, pretty solid, even if the moths have had a little go at the left-hand corner there. It's got an action-packed early 60s artwork there, quite catching, and it shows all the features here, and this reflects a time when having as many operating features as possible was desired, so your control surfaces and Bombay doors and undercarriage and turrets and propellers, all those things moving if possible, all of which were selling points and eagerly jumped on by modellers of the day. Then on this end we see the end presentation there. This is a 1965 moulding. On this side we have the other 4 engine ones. We've got the Naval BB401 Liberator, we've got the P-17 Flying Fortress, the Army Air Force Liberator and the Focke-Wulf Condor. And then we have the same end presentation on the other side, and nothing underneath of course. So let's unbox it and have a look inside. It is a really solid box. There we go. It's an interesting choice on Revell's part to have moulded it in green rather than black. I suppose whatever colour it is, you're going to have to do a bit of painting. So looking at the first group of parts, we see the wings upper and lower, we see fin and rudder ×2, set of outer cowlings, set of undercarriage doors, and the Bombay with the bombs in place. Now looking at the detail, of course as you would expect for the time, there are plenty of rivets, but the pattern seems to be pretty good, and a good bit of detail with panel lines. Note also that the outer rearward section of the nacelles are integral with the wings, which possibly helps with a bit of rigidity. So looking at the fuselage halves, they're exactly what you would expect from a model of this era. A lot of rivets of course, but they really captured the detail, and a lot better than what had come before. And interestingly, I got a second set of fuselage halves with this model in a lighter, almost olive green. Looks like they're Memphis Belle green. Here we have the inboard nacelles and cowlings, and one set of undercarriage doors. Then on this sprue we have ailerons, we have a set of flaps, we've got the turret combing and a fill-in and a tail wheel yoke, etc. A number of half crew figures. Some seats missing, undercarriage gear, and that's that. And last but not least, we have a lot of tail section parts. We've got the elevators and the tail planes, the main wheels, some more undercarriage, then the Bombay doors, propellers, stroke 1 prop off, but you get that. And now with the decals, one of the realities of getting kits second-hand is sometimes people use the stuff. So we see a couple of fin flashes and a couple of roundels missing, but otherwise they're actually pretty good. No yellowing, not like Airfix, and they have the instructions on the back. So yeah, not bad at all. And the transparencies are what you would expect from the era. They're not too thick and chunky, they're quite clear. I do wonder about that shape of the canopy there, but yeah, you know, the vintage experience. Not the worst I've ever seen. So now we see the instructions. Quite detailed really for the time. Revell authentic kits. The scale of this model is 1 to 72nd actual size. Had to tell people that then. And there's the 3 view. I'm not sure if that's the commemorative extra one that you get. And there's some interesting stories here. Bit of excitement and adventure. And it might be worth pausing to have a bit of a look. They mention Aussie Rules football. Woo! And a bit more about this particular aeroplane, which at the time was outside at RAF Scampton on gate guard duty. And then we look at the instructions and you can see they're actually quite detailed. They've got a fully detailed parts list and detailed step-by-step assembly instructions. We're pressing parts and cementing parts and doing all of that. And then when you look at the diagram here, it's quite detailed again. So you've got the numbered parts that link up with the parts list below, so you really know what you're doing. And then that was number 1, and then number 2 we're looking at undercarriage assembly, and again there's another parts list and an assembly instruction set, and the gear and engine and the propeller assemblies for the outboards. So yeah, I'm rather impressed with the depth of detail there. I suppose it is a big aeroplane, don't want to get it wrong. And the diagram also shows you what colours various parts are painted. So yeah, that's impressive. And then we look at the wings and the ailerons and flaps and all of the retractable things and the propellers that spin, and more parts, more assembly. And then looking over on the other side, step 4, the last one, is basically putting everything else together, and it also shows you where the decals go. So parts list, assembly instructions. Yeah, well that surprised me a little, compared with some models from a few years later even. So yeah, that's the instructions. So all in all, I've got to give it to Revell. Given the technological constraints of the time and possibly lack of detailed information, they came out with a pretty good kit, certainly better than a lot of what had come before. And while it doesn't stack up anywhere near against any of the more recent kits, for the time it was probably pretty well received. If you consider too that it wasn't even 20 years earlier that these aircraft were still flying with Bomber Command night after night, and so there may have been ex-servicemen who became modellers, or more likely the kids of ex-servicemen who received these models and put a lot of time and effort into them. I know a few of us some years later also put a bit of time and effort into them. I had one myself. So it's worth thinking about. Thank you so much for joining me for this one. There we go, bit of a green comparison there again. Appreciate your time. If you got something out of it, please leave a comment, let me know what you think. Maybe chuck a like or a subscribe in there. And this is the second of the 7 72nd scale Lancaster kit reviews, and they won't all come out in order, but they will all come. Cheers.